Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It's a cold winter evening. And I have a new candle, which we're gonna light in just a second. But it is a cold winter evening, a cold winter Friday evening. How are you guys doing tonight? How are you guys doing tonight? I just got 4 videos uploaded. My 5th one, I did a huge book haul over my booktube channel. It is currently uploading. It still has, I think it has like an hour left. Hold on, let's see. It still has 57 minutes to upload. So that one I will post when I get done with my vlog tonight. But this is my coffee that I've been drinking since earlier today. And I am, just getting stuff done. And once I get done vlogging, then I'm gonna relax for the evening, maybe take a little bit of a nap. Alex left early today to go to this work thing. So I was kind of explaining this the other day. I think I explained this on here. Maybe I was explaining it to one of my friends. So like Alex does all this contractual work. So for each office, he has like a different Christmas thing, and like it's not like a spouse thing. So today, they all went shopping together, and then they were going to dinner. I think dinner started at 6:30. So he left here about 3:45 because they were meeting to go shopping together there was like 6 or 8 of them that were going Christmas shopping at like 4. They were meeting at the mall. They're gonna go shopping, and then they were gonna go to dinner at 6:30. He was real excited about it. I was excited for him. So I waited until he left, and I filmed my drama video down here while he was like taking a shower and getting ready. And then when he left, I ended up filming a booktube video, Peterisms video, a Christmas movie video over on my Peter Does Stuff channel. We're gonna watch 4 Christmas movies together. 4 of my favorite Christmas movies I announced over there. Yeah, and then the booktube video. Anyway, that's the 5th one, and now the vlog. So he said he should be home about 9 o'clock tonight, and then we're probably gonna watch House of Villains tonight, and then, I don't know, I'll take a nap, and we might watch a movie or something, or I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. And then he has something tomorrow night that he's not sure if he's gonna go to or not. He's like, it just depends on how tired I am. And so, yeah, so that's the weekend. To be honest with you, I am just excited to read this weekend and relax and watch some shows. I am so into, my Peter Watches TV channel. That's the other one I made. I am so into 1,000 Pound Sisters right now. 1,000 Pound Sisters, 1,000 Pound Best Friends. I actually haven't watched 1,000 Pound Sisters this week. I am so into 1,000 Pound Best Friends. I'm halfway through season 2. So this weekend, I would really like to finish season 2 and catch up on season 3 to where it's at now, so that each week until the finale, I could do a reaction to it. I also, this weekend, my goal is to finish The Blue Hour by Paula Hawkins, so that starting on Sunday, I can just listen to all audiobooks for, the next 2 weeks? We have less than 20 days now, 19 days. So for like the next 2.5 weeks, I can listen to just all Christmas audiobooks. I'm currently reading 4 Christmas books. 4? 5? I'm reading 5 Christmas books. 2 of them are like children's middle grade books. I talked about on here the other day. I'm reading like a chapter a day. They're real short. They're cheesy. One's about a mouse that goes to live at Macy's. And the other one is The House Without a Christmas Tree, which, in all honesty, I think it was Jason Robards that was in. I could actually look it up since I'm sitting in front of the computer. I think it was Jason Robards when did that movie come out? We should look it up and see. Okay. I was listening to Johnny Kemp, Just Got Paid. Just Got Paid. Friday night. When I first got sober, I used to go to this meeting, and it was called Just Got Paid. It no longer exists, but it was on Friday nights, and it was at 8 o'clock, and everybody got real dressed up. It was real fun. Okay. I know that people think that we're just all sadness and tears and 12-step meetings, but we're not. It's a lot of fun and laughter, too. Okay. The House Without a Christmas Tree. What? Oh, it says film. 1972 film. That was the year I was born. If it has Jason Robards in it, I'll die. The book came out it was about 1946. Director Paul Bogart. Oh, there's a whole movie? How long is the movie? Oh my God. Jason, here on YouTube. It's on YouTube. An hour and 27 minutes. I'm going to have to watch it when I finish this book. Christmas TV movie that aired on CBS on December 3rd, 1972. I wasn't even 6 months old yet. Starring Jason Robards. The video picture is reversed to offset. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm reading that. It's real short. Oh my gosh. Oh, the poster for it is like, who else was in it? I don't know any of these people. Oh, her friend's name is Carla May in it. Grandma Mills was played by Mildred Natwick. Anyway, it's okay. It's about this girl and her mom's passed away and her dad doesn't like Christmas anymore, so he'll never get her a Christmas tree. I don't know how I remember this. We must have watched it in school or something. So I have the book downstairs. So I was like, I haven't read this book or watched this movie. I mean, probably since I was a kid. So I was like, I just pulled it out of all these Christmas books. I was like, oh, I'll read that one. It's real short. And then it has pictures in it and stuff, like old-fashioned. It actually has, like, pictures drawn from the movie. And then The Great Christmas Kidnapping Caper is about this mouse. And I think his name is Max. Something like that. Or Gus. I don't know. But anyway, he goes and moves into Macy's and then he brings his friends in there. So anyway, that's the other book that I'm reading. But those are the two cheesy ones. I'll be done with those by, like, this weekend because they're really, really short. I did go into them, like, to read, like, a chapter a day, and I've been doing that. And then I was like, I think I'm going to read a little bit more and just finish these because they're so short. Last night, I showed it in my vlog last night. Was it last night that I showed it? The new book that I got, I showed it in my BookTube video today, too. The new book that I got that was called... Remember I kept on joking? I was like, she's all alone. I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, it's in the kitchen. Someone's in the kitchen with Peter. Remember when I used to sing that in my review videos? Anyway, I don't even remember what it's called. By Kristen, I should look it up. I think it's Kristen Mulligan is the author's name. I don't know how I remember that. Kristen Mulligan, author. Let's look at it, see if it pulls up. Yeah, this is her. Mulligan. Because she wrote The Acts of Life, because I looked her up last night. She has a new book out called All I Want for Christmas? Okay. Christmas. I'll Be Alone for Christmas, a thriller novella. You guys, it is really, really good. It's really well written. And I read like the first 3 chapters last night because I wanted to get, it's 22 chapters and an epilogue. So I was like trying to get caught up so that, you know, I could read a chapter a night. But it's so good that I think I'm going to read more than that. Yeah, I sat there last night and I read for like 2 hours. I read all the Christmas books, and then I read Maximum Ride by James Patterson. I'm really, really enjoying my reading time at night, sitting in the chair. The reason I stopped, I guess it was more like an hour and a half. The reason I stopped reading was because, so, I love this thing. If you have a reader in your life, I swear by this thing. And I didn't use it for a long time because I would only listen to audiobooks. I didn't read inside. Let me pull you guys a little bit closer. Hold on. Oh, please don't fall. Please don't fall. I'm always afraid one of the legs of the, I almost said treadmill, tripod's going to fall. But it's one of those things around your neck, like the neck reading light. You can get them on Amazon. They're not that expensive. But last night, it started to go. I was like, is it dying? It still looked like it was on. It has like 3 different, like you can turn it high, like high, higher, and highest. And, or whatever. And I was like, is it dying? I kept on taking it off. And I was like, it's dying. And I was like, I don't know where to get batteries and stuff. And so I looked at the top and I was like, oh, there's like a charger thing. And it fits like an iPod, iPhone charger thing. So I charged it overnight. So it's fully charged. I love this thing. I swear by it. If you're looking for gifts for readers that people like to read, I think this book is great, or this book light is great. I should look up the one that I bought, because I got it on Amazon, and I really, really like it. I'll have to look it up and let you guys know. So yeah, because people ask me about the Christmas bedding too. Not the plaid one, people didn't care so much about that one, but the one that's like white and red. People were asking me what that brand was, and I said I would look it up, and I haven't done that yet. But anyway, let's light this candle before we get into today's vlog. We're already in today's vlog. This candle I got off of Etsy. I was like down there looking. So I have so many candles, but I have a lot of like Christmas candles from last year. I still have Bath & Body Works ones from like last year that I never used. So I'm trying to use all the Christmas ones. So I was going through them, and I found this one that I got at Etsy a while ago. Christmas in the Great Hall. It smells okay, and it is apple, bourbon, caramel, and vanilla, and it's by AARKA Origins. I don't know how much it was, but hopefully I think some of these candles smell better than they do before they're lit. So let's see. Here we go. This little light of mine. And I have my coffee, like I already said, and now we have the candle lit. The videos are up, except for the booktube video, and now we can vlog. Yeah, today's been a good day. Got up today. We had marriage counseling today at 1. It was a really good session. We talked about down the road. You know, Alex has had, I'm not going to get into what our whole session was about, but like, you know, Alex is kind of like on the fence of like wanting another dog or not because of the emotional issues with it. And you know, it's interesting because since Boo passed away, I've actually talked to quite a few people that like their partner is like, yeah, like they're the same way. Like they don't want to get another dog because the emotionality of losing a dog is so hard. But like now Alex is kind of like on the fence about it. He's kind of like, well, maybe, I don't know, down the road. I'm like, the thing is that we're so far off for looking from getting a dog. That, I mean, we're not even going to look, and I'm not going to look. I mean, he's like, you can get as many dogs as you want. You can have 5, 10 dogs if you want. I mean, I would never have that. I would have 3 dogs again. But I think the only, okay, if I were going to get more dogs, well, next summer, fall, I will get another dog. But I'm not looking until then, and it might even be later than that. It's still very lonely in this house, but I'm getting used to it day by day with there not being a dog here. And like I said, I want to travel some and do that kind of stuff. Unless, in between now and then, you know, I mean, I have so many friends that work for rescues and, you know, stuff like that. If some dog came up that I was like, oh, like, I feel like that's supposed to be, you know, my dog, then that would change that. The other thing is that, so my plan would be I'd like to get a dog and then like a year or 2 later get another dog and have 2 dogs. Boo did really great by himself at the end, but I feel like the dogs were the happiest when they had like all, like when it was just like Boo and Tucker or Boo, Tucker and Pee-Pee. Like they seemed the happiest when it was 3 of them. I would love to get litter mates again, or litter mates sometimes don't get along. Tucker and Boo Radley, it was interesting because when we would tell people they were litter mates, people would be like, they get along so well. Some litter mates don't get along at all. But I would love to get litter mates, especially if they got along, and or a bonded pair. I would love to get, you know, one of those. So, I don't know. But we talked a little bit about that. Our therapy session today was good. We just kind of like, you know, talked about plans. We talked about traveling, wanting to like schedule a trip. So, we talked a lot about that. It was good. We just had like, it was nothing. So, anyway, I mean, it wasn't nothing, but nothing. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing, but it was like, I mean, I'm not going to get into the specifics. I mean, it wasn't like, you know. It's interesting because, you know, through time, like, our marriage counseling sessions have really kind of morphed into something else. Like, you know, at first, it was to fix our marriage, and then it was like, we would have, like, assignments, like communication assignments and things like that, and then we would come up with, like, things that we wanted to talk about. And now, it's really more just, like, check-ins, honestly, because we communicate well, and, you know, and things like that. So, yeah, it's good. So we had therapy today, and that was from 1 to 2. And then, which was late for us. We usually do it earlier on Fridays. So we used to do it Tuesday nights, and we switched it to Fridays. Because Alex works from home on Fridays. He usually just has a meeting. Like, he has all this stuff set up over there where he had his meeting this morning. And then, so it's easier for him to do it on Fridays. Because on Tuesdays, he would have to, like, rush after work. And then I would have to take an Uber and stuff. So it's just easier for us on Fridays. So we did that. And then we came home. And then I filmed the drama video. And he started getting ready. And then he left. And then then after he left, I filmed a bunch of videos. So that was today. And now I'm vlogging. Hi, how are you? Now I'm vlogging. And yeah, last night was good. What did we do last night? We watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So good. It's like my favorite city right now to watch. And then we watched Watch What Happens Live. Who was on it? Oh, Mary Cosby was on it, and this comedian that I don't know. But she was hilarious. She's part of some show that's like on its finale, and I don't know. But anyway, Mary's so different this season than she's been on seasons before. Like, she's really, really good. And then today, so then, okay, after that, Alex was super tired. I looked over at him halfway through, and I was like, he looked like he was about to fall asleep. And I said, are you really tired? He's like, I'm so tired today. I don't know why. He's like, I feel like the cold is just taking it out of me. So after we got done with Watch What Happens Live, we went upstairs, and he was like, I'm going to watch like one show, and then when I'm done, he's watching, I don't know what series he's watching some series. It's some like a superhero series. So he's like, I'm going to watch one episode, then I'm going to go to bed. And I was like, okay. And it was early. I can't remember what time it was, but it was early. And so I started falling asleep, and I set my alarm. Like, I ended up taking like, I slept late last night. I ended up taking like a 3-hour nap, and I mean, I was out. And I was nervous to wake up, because I was like, it felt like the night before, I felt so shaky when I woke up. I didn't feel like that last night when I woke up. I woke up from my nap, and I felt like rested. Like, really rested. I don't know, I'm sleeping better during my naps than I'm sleeping when I go to bed. So, yeah, did that, and I woke up at some point because he like turned off the TV and he was like going to bed, and I like went to the bathroom, and then I came back to bed. I was so cozy. You know, at first, like I wasn't real excited about the Christmas bedding. Now the Christmas bedding is like so cozy and stuff, and I love it. Yeah, and then, I'm trying to think of what else. And that was it. Came downstairs, lit the candles, read my Christmas books. I don't think oh, you know what? I did not watch Elsbeth and Matlock last night. I was like, when I got done reading, it was kind of late at that point, and I was like, okay, do you want to save it? I was like, I want to save it for this weekend to watch Matlock and Elsbeth. So I'm going to save that and watch that this weekend. So I'm really excited about either tonight or tomorrow. This candle isn't really putting up any kind of throw whatsoever. I mean, it's only been lit for a couple minutes, but it smells like fresh baked cookies, kind of. I mean, it smells good, but it's just not putting off that strong of a throw. So I'm either going to watch it tonight or I'm going to watch it tomorrow. It depends on like when Alex gets home, because he's not going to be home late tonight. If he wants to watch a movie or something, because we have some movies like we went through and like looked at Christmas movies and stuff like that that he wants to see. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what we're going to do tonight. I don't know. And then tomorrow during the day, he doesn't have any plans. He has this thing tomorrow night. It's like another like work gathering thing. And he is not sure if he is. It's like, but it's not like a party or anything like that. I mean, it is, but it's not like a Christmas party thing. It's just like a get together. And so he's not sure if he's going to do that or not. Because he's like, if I'm really tired, I probably won't go do anything. My husband's, so in the spring and in the summer, I mean, he does a lot of stuff anyway. But in the spring and the summer, he likes to do more. Like go out and do more. Like during the winter, even his girlfriends, this is like, I mean, tonight's a work thing, but tomorrow night's a completely different group. It's like his friends from like this one office that he works at. And, but like his girlfriends that he goes out with, like, they kind of like all hibernate during the winter. So yeah, they don't go out a lot during the winter. So, yeah. I don't know. We also want to talk about planning a trip this weekend. I mean, we talked about it a lot in therapy today. About, not for this weekend, but like in the next 2 months. Like getting out of here and going away for just even a couple days somewhere. So we talked about how we think that would be good for us to get out of here. So we'll plan that sometime this weekend. You know, I kind of brought it up, and then Alex was like, oh, I don't know. And then he brought it up, and then I was kind of like, I don't know. And then last night he brought it up again, and I was like, yeah, I'm down to go on a trip if you want to go on a trip. And he was like, yeah, I think we should. So we'll probably plan that this weekend. We have no idea, like, where, I mean, I know we talked a little bit, kind of threw around Vegas, but we're like, Vegas is so cold this time of year. I don't enjoy Vegas when it's cold. I like Vegas when it's like, you know, 100-degree heat outside and things like that. So this weekend's gonna be real laid back. Like I said, I want to finish, my one goal is to finish that audiobook. Oh, the other goal that I have is to put up the Christmas tree. I am going to put up the Christmas tree this weekend. I'm gonna put it up. I might put it up as soon as I get done with this vlog. It's gonna take me like 10 minutes to put up. If I don't put it up today, I will definitely put it up tomorrow. I think I probably will film. I've been like trying to like slow down a little bit on the weekends and not film so much, but I probably will film this weekend. Mel and I kind of made a decision to postpone we have a December True Crime Book Club, but we kind of decided to postpone the live streams until January because we both have got a lot of stuff going on. Well, I don't have so much stuff going on as she does, but for me, it would have been easier to do it like the first 2 weeks of December. That didn't work for her. So, but then we're coming into the holidays. And so when we talked, I was like, well, because we were going to do it like the 8th or the 15th. And then like, I can't remember, one of those didn't work for her. And so then we would have had to do it the 8th. And then it got too late and I had already announced like the books for December. And so I said, well, do you want to just put it off until next month and do like 2 books, do November and December and January? She's like, yeah, let's just do that. And I was like, yeah, I agree. So we don't have a book club on Sundays. So now I can either do a longer vlog on Sundays or I can film a couple videos plus a vlog on Sunday. So I'll probably film some videos on Sunday tomorrow and as well. And then definitely tomorrow I will film some videos as well. So I'm just kind of ow, my hand. I'm just excited to kind of relax. It is still really, really cold today. It was funny because when we were going to our therapy session, we got laughing so hard because I said to Alex, I said, it is so cold outside. And he goes, it's not cold as it usually is. And I looked at his car thing and it said 27. I go, it's 27 degrees outside. You don't think it's cold? Alex is, if it gets below 50, he thinks it's cold. He goes, well, I mean, it's not like we're going to go on a beach or go to the pool. I go, it's cold outside. So we stepped outside at therapy session. He goes, it is so cold. I go, I told you it's cold because he didn't bring a coat. And I said, I told you it's cold. He goes, it's a lot colder than I thought it was. And he was like running up to the door. Anyway. Let's look and see what the temperature is, actually, shall we? Shall we? People said I was a little snarky in my vlog yesterday. They're like, I like the sassy, snarky Peter. Was I? I was just in a good mood. I'm in a good mood tonight, too. It's 29 and clear. How did it get warmer than it was in his car? Sometimes his car says it's a different temperature than it is. It's 29 and clear. Tonight, the low is 20. I feel like it was supposed to be... I was today that... I don't... You know what? I have a slight headache, but not... Wasn't today supposed to be the day? Oh, yeah. A drop in atmospheric pressure over the next 24 hours may trigger migraines tomorrow. Says it for today. Didn't it say that for yesterday for today? I don't have a migraine. Tomorrow is supposed to be 43. So I will definitely be walking tomorrow and Sunday. Sunday is supposed to be 54. Monday, 52. Tuesday, 40. Tanya informed me she cannot. So my sobriety birthday is a week from Tuesday. And so Tanya was like, we were in the car and she's like, I have to tell you something. And I was like, what? She goes, you can't get mad at me. I go, okay, what is it? So she and her husband go this Christmas thing every year, right? And so, of course, she waits until the first week of December to book the tickets. And she's like, the only day that they had was the 17th. So I can't go with you to the meeting to, you know, when you announce your sobriety birthday. And I was like, Tanya Jean! I started laughing. She's like, well, you could get it the following week. I go, you want me to wait a week because you and your husband have to go this Christmas? We started laughing. I go, girl, it is totally fine. It is. She's missed birthdays. I've missed birthdays of hers. I was like, it's totally fine. She goes, I know, but it's your 30th. And I said, Tanya, I said, you know, it's such a, like, this is the thing. Like, I'll go with my sponsor, you know, and whatever, and she'll give me my coin, and it'll be great, and all that. But it's weird, like, I mean, I'm proud of being sober 30 years, but, like, I was talking about this, I think, in a vlog not too long ago. Like, I don't know really how to explain it. Like, when you think about it, how can I break this down into how my mind works? Like, when you think about it, right, like, 30 years collectively of not drinking or drugging is a lot. But, like, every day living as a person in recovery, like, 30 years doesn't seem any different than like 29 years and 8 months. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, we get a daily reprieve, right? And like, I can remember early on when people would say that, like, the person that gets up early in the morning is the one that has the most sobriety. And I think that's such bullshit. You know, like, no, you have 20 years and I have 3 months and you have a lot more time than me. And there is something to be said for that. I will say that, you know, like, I'm not in the place that I was when I was 3 months sober. But there's also some truth to that the person that gets up the earliest is the one that has the most sobriety, like, you've been up the longest kind of thing. I don't know that, like, it's not like I'm going to wake up on my 30th sobriety birthday and be like, damn, like, everything's different. It's not like it's going to feel that way. It's not going to feel any different than the day it did before, except that I'm going to have one more day sober, you know? I think it's when I step back from it and I look and I think to myself, I mean, it's weird. Like, I can still remember those first days in treatment. Like, when I had literally like 1, 2, and 3 days sober, I can remember those first days. I can remember, not great, but I can remember the weeks leading up to getting sober. Not great because I was using every day. I can remember those days leading up to it. I can remember being in treatment. I can remember specific things about it. Not everything, but some. I mean, it's been 30 years, you know? But I can remember some things about it. And there's parts of it that feel like it was yesterday, but there's parts of it that feel like it was like forever ago. When I hear people's leads or people talk and whatever, or like, you know, in meetings we'll share like what the early days were like and whatever, or I'll hear somebody that just got out of treatment and they're sharing, I'm like, oh my God, that's what it was like for me or whatever, right? Then it feels like it was not that long ago and I remember things very clearly. What's weirder is when you step back from it, right? And you don't just look at the like, take it one day at a time. Because that's very, I mean, you know, like people will say, you know, like when you get your year or 30 years, how'd you do it? One day at a time kind of thing, right? And that's how you do it. It's like one day at a time. And that's it. It's 30 years built on one day at a time. That's the truth. I don't really know how to tell anybody. Like if somebody said, how do you get 30 years sober? I'd say you take it day by day. It's one day at a time. Literally. There have been some days that's been easy breezy. There's other days that I thought I was never going to make it through sober. Literally. You know? And, but it's when I step back in context and I look at, you've been sober for 30 years. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, I never in a million years would have thought, I never thought I would hit a year, 5 years, 10 years, let alone 30 years, you know? And I think the 4 years that I didn't go to meetings are almost more significant to me now than before I got sober. And I talk about those 4 years, you know, I talk about there were 4 years I didn't go to meetings, and I say that. I don't think I've ever really, and a lot of it is really personal, and it's, I mean, there's a lot that I share on, I mean, I know I overshare in all my videos, and especially over here, but there's a lot I've never shared on video. There's a lot of things, emotions I felt, things I've gone through, things that happened to me as a kid, things that happened to me as an adult. There's a lot of things that have happened to me that it's personal, and I'm not, a lot of what I share is personal, obviously, but there are just things that I don't know that I'm at a place to share yet, or that I will ever share. There are some things that are mine and mine alone, you know? That 4 years was a really, 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 really ugly place for me. I was, you know, I can remember Tanya calling me and being like, I just don't know how you're not drinking, like not, you know, going to meetings, and I don't know how you're not drinking and drugging, like not going to meetings, not, you know, being active, whatever. And I'd be like, I don't know, Tanya, like, you know, it's whatever. And she'd be like, do you want to go to a meeting? I'd be like, no, not this week. I appreciate you asking me though, you know? And even right after I came back in, I don't think it was very, like, I was very aware of, like, maybe how close I got to using. In retrospect, like now, looking back, now that it's been, what was I just seeing the other day? Oh, it was my friend, a friend of mine. I can tell you exactly. I think it'll be 13 years that I've been back. 12 or 13 years I've been coming back to meetings consistently. You know, I didn't use during those 4 years, but I don't know how I did. But I also had no emotional sobriety. But one of my friends that got sober, like when I started coming back to meetings, he got sober like a month after, well, it would have been more than that because I came back in January. So I think his sobriety birthday was in November. So he would have, you know what? Okay, I came back in January. He got sober that following November. I thought he got sober like because I was figuring this out in my head. He got sober in November. I remember him coming in and getting sober. I remember his story and everything that happened. And so I came back in January. He would have got sober in November. So it would have been almost 13 years ago that I came back. Because he just celebrated 12 years. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But those 4 years that I didn't go to meetings, I mean, I say I had no spiritual foundation, I had no emotional sobriety, but I don't think unless you live it, like even if you lived it, like if somebody looked at me in a meeting and said, yeah, there were 4 years I didn't go to meetings and I didn't have any emotional sobriety and I didn't have any spiritual foundation, I would be like, I don't know what that means for you. Like, I understand what you're saying, but like, I don't know the specifics of what that means for you. You know what I mean? For me, you know, I talked the other day about feeling very alone and like questioning God and stuff. During that period, that was on the heels of my mom passing away. I was very angry at God. I felt like God was doing shit to me to teach me lessons and I didn't deserve it. So I was very angry at God. Not only that, I was very angry in general at the world. And didn't speak very nice to people, you know, whatever. And just, I was not in a good place. The camera stopped. How I did not use during those 4 years looking back is beyond. I honest to God, I do not know. I mean, it's, you know, we talk about emotional sobriety being, who are you? Now the candle is like smelling really good. It's so funny because I did a review of that Snickerdoodle, Old Spice stuff, and it smells like a sugar cookie. This smells like a Snickerdoodle. This is so funny. It smells really, it's like Snickerdoodle and coffee. It smells really good. So we talk about emotional sobriety being like, who are you when you put the bottle down, like, and the drugs down? Like, who are you after that, right? Like, because there's so much work to do on yourself. It's not just about the drink or the drug. That's but a symptom of the disease, right? So who are you once you put that down? Well, when you look at those 4 years of my life, or when I look at those 4 years of my life, I wasn't drinking and I wasn't drugging, but I was really an empty shell of myself. I was an angry, empty shell, miserable human being is who I was. And I honestly, I don't know how I didn't pick up. I really don't. Like, and I can remember Tanya asking me, like, I don't know how you're not using it. And I just thought it was like the weirdest question at the time. I can remember her asking me and I'd be like, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, I mean, Tanya and I stayed in contact. My old sponsor and I, who passed away like 2 years ago, he and I stayed, Tanya and I talked as much then as I do now to her. Maybe not as much, but we still talked regularly and I saw her and stuff like that. It wasn't like our friendship took a hiatus or anything like that. And my sponsor and I, we would talk from time to time. And he was also always super supportive, wanted to know if I wanted to come back, if I wanted to go, you know, everybody was. I think the one thing, I will say this to anybody out there that's struggling, okay? I think the one thing that saved my ass during that time is that I had known a lot of people that were like, I don't need that anymore. Like, I don't need to go to meetings. I don't need therapy. I don't need 12-step work. I don't need sponsor. I don't need to look at myself. I never said that. And I'm just talking about from a perspective of working a 12-step program. I know there's a lot of ways to get sober. I honor all those ways. I'm just talking about somebody that worked a 12-step program. I was never the person that said, like, I don't need that shit. I didn't want to go back. And honestly, a lot of it was out of fear. I've talked about this before because I didn't really know what the reception would be when I walked back in the room. And so a lot of it was a lot of fear. And I was welcomed back with total love when I came back, you know, and that's the absolute miracle of recovery. But a lot of it was fear. A lot of it was social anxiety. I didn't, you know, go back in, and I knew I was going to have to share. I haven't gone to a meeting in 4 years. I mean, I did share that when I came back. Like, I'm not in a good place. I haven't, you know, gone to a meeting in 4 years. I had to share those things. That was my truth at that time. I think the one thing that really saved my ass is, like, you know, when I worked in treatment, I worked around a lot of people that were really active and still are to this day that I know that work 12-step programs and things like that. But I also worked with other people that, like, they got sober and then they started working in a treatment facility. When I started working there, I would say like 75% of the people that worked there were all like sober and worked programs. By the time that I left, I would say it was probably 20%. But I knew a lot of people that kind of, I mean, it was something we would talk about because people would get afraid of it when they started there, and then it would kind of happen to people. And I was always very cognizant of that people would replace working in a treatment facility for working a program, a 12-step program. It's kind of something that happens a lot with people that work in halfway houses and whatever. It's kind of like they stop working themselves because you're in it all the time, right? And so I think that was something I was always very aware of. You know, and I didn't stop going to meetings until actually after I left going to working in treatment because my mom passed away, and then that's when I stopped going to meetings. That was after I was already gone because I had resigned that December and left in January of 2008 was when I resigned from there. Or was when I left. I resigned in December and left at the end of January. I told my supervisor, I was like, I'll stay on as long as you want me to train somebody. And then she was like, no, we need to come up with like a certain amount of time. And then it ended up being like 60 days, but then they hired somebody else. And so they didn't need me past that first month. And I was like, okay, well then I'll leave. So it actually turned out really great, you know? It was really nice. And it was also turned out really great, kind of like a blessing in disguise, because that was when my mom got really, really sick. And so I couldn't have done that had I been working. My mom was in the hospital right next to where I worked, but I couldn't have done that had I been working 8 to 10 hours a day, you know, and then had to go take care of my mom and be in the hospital. I mean, I would have done it, but I don't think I could have done it. So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, honestly, that it happened that way. So yeah, it was interesting. Just the other day, like somebody that was in a supervisory position reached out to me about something like totally like so bizarre. It was so weird. And it was so nice to hear from them. And we were so close that we all worked together. It's so funny because like so many of the people that I worked with, very few are still like in the field doing that. Like I have a friend of mine that I used to work with that like she owns her own hair salon now. She was a hairstylist for a while. And you know, everybody's kind of gone off and done their own things. So it's interesting. I think like just 2 of my friends, there was 3 and then 1, she stopped doing what she was doing. 2 of my friends are still in the field. That's it. But yeah, we were so close, all of us there. I loved working there. What was I going to say? Why was I talking about that? Oh, but there were a lot of people that I worked with that like were pretty hardcore 12-step when they started working there. And then over time, they'd just be like, I'd be like, oh, I don't see you at such and such meeting anymore. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I don't like really go to meetings anymore. I don't really need it. And I always kind of, I mean, it wasn't like my place to judge, but it scared me because I was like, I hope like I don't get there where I feel like I don't need a meeting. So the reason I'm sharing that is because the farther and farther away I would get from going to meetings or be part of a program. It's not just about meetings. I'm not a believer. There's a saying that meeting makers make it. It's kind of a joke. I'm not a believer that meeting makers make it, meaning that if you log in 14 meetings a week, like you're more sober than somebody else. I know a lot of people that go to a hell of a lot of meetings and they have no, you know, they're not happy, joyous, and free because they're not doing any work on themselves. I mean, it's a lot about, it's more about the 12-step work than it is about showing up to meetings, in all honesty. But I remember when I wasn't going to meetings, and it wasn't like a conscious decision either. It was like, I mean, I'd gotten into an argument with somebody, but it wasn't like I walked away and I was like, I'm never going back to any meetings again. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, I'm not going to that meeting for a while. But I can remember when it first started, I wasn't like, I'm not going to meetings anymore. It was just like a week would go by and then like somebody would reach out to me and be like, do you want to go to Saturday? You know, no. Do you want to go to Sunday, breakfast meeting? No, I don't want to do that. Do you want to go? I mean, it was just like every week I just say no and no and no. And then other than Tanya and my sponsor, people stopped asking. And I stopped showing up. And so it just kind of happened over time. I've seen this happen to a lot of friends of mine that have ended up going back out. And the first thing they do is they stop going to meetings. This is why I'm talking about it's a godsend that never happened to me. I don't really know how it didn't happen to me and it happened to other people. Because the first thing was that I noticed with friends of mine that they would stop going to meetings. They would stop calling their sponsor. They would stop interacting with people that are in sobriety. It's like when I talk about like when people stepped away or I go back out. Go back out means they started using again. People will say, like, did you not reach out to them? Hell yes, I reached out to them. We all did. Tanya did. They stopped calling. They stopped taking your calls after a while, you know? I think that was the one thing was I didn't stop taking the calls. And I never said, like, I always knew I needed to go back to meetings. I was kind of too afraid to go. I just didn't want to walk back with my tail between my legs. Had I known, and I also don't think that at that time, I mean, Alex and even though we were fighting a lot, even though we were fighting a lot, like, we were having a lot of fun. I mean, we were going out a lot, we were making new friends. I mean, it was a fun time in my life. I had no emotional sobriety, and I was a bitter-ass person most of the time, but we were having a lot of fun, you know? And so I don't know that it was, like, necessarily at the top of my radar, like, I need to go to a meeting tomorrow. I think it kind of got more and more distant, like, I don't think that I need to go. And that's the scary part of it, you know? The further you get away from the event that brought you in, or the further that you get away from going on a regular basis, you don't think that you need to. And I'm just talking about from a 12-step point of view. I've seen it happen to a lot of friends of mine, you know? Most of my friends that I have, I would say the majority or almost everybody that I know lives out loud. And living out loud means that everybody around you knows that you're sober, okay? I had a friend of mine a very close friend of mine, that had a year more sobriety than I did. Stopped going to meetings. stopped talking, first stopped talking to their sponsor, then like a year later stopped going to meetings, stopped showing up. And then we still talked to them, and then they would, the neighborhood they lived in, they started hanging out with a lot of their neighbors. And I'm not talking about like my neighbors. I'm talking about like backyard barbecues. Hey, come over to my house, have a glass of wine. At first they didn't drink. Then they stopped. They didn't tell their neighbors that they were sober because they moved into a new neighborhood. They didn't tell their neighbors they were sober. And then they started like, okay, I'll just have like, you know, a beer. And then that turned into getting drunk in the backyard with the neighbors, turned into smoking weed, turned into devastation within 6 months. I mean, it happened that quick. It can, and I think like, I have to remember those things, you know? But at the time that I wasn't going to meetings, I never said to myself, and I knew in my heart that I needed to go back. I never said to myself, to Tanya, to my sponsor, to anybody else I would ask, to Alex, because Alex asked a lot. I mean, Alex was very educated, you know, and stuff like that. Do you think you need to go to a meeting? Do you want to, you know, call your sponsor? I mean, he knew my sponsor. We had traveled together and stuff like that. We used to always get cabins together in like Norris, Tennessee. So Alex knew my sponsor very well. And so he would say, do you want to call him? You know, whatever. Like, I think Alex was just as worried about me. I found out later that Alex and Tanya like had talked and like, you know, on numerous occasions, and that he'd expressed some concern about where I was at, but like also asking her like as a spouse, what's his place to say, like, you need to go to a meeting, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so, and he'd also talked to my sponsor because Alex was very worried about me because I just was not in a good place. I don't really know how to say it without like saying I wasn't speaking to people nicely. I wasn't in a good place. It was bad. It was not good. And I wasn't happy. More than anything, I just wasn't happy, you know? And I said this the other night when I was talking about like God and things like that. I don't really know how to explain a worse place to be than knowing that you can't drink or drug, but also knowing that looking for an exit plan is not your way either. And that's how I'm going to say it on YouTube. Does that make sense? That, like, that's never been an answer for you. And so you don't feel that way. Like, that's a scary place to be in. Knowing that you either have to pick up the pieces and do the work to feel better, or you're just going to be miserable. And I was choosing misery at that time. I was choosing just to be unhappy. And I was taking it out on a lot of people. And they didn't deserve it. And that's a lot of amends that I've had to make in the last 12 years since I've been back. You know? I think it's true when they say hurt people hurt people. I think miserable people take their misery out on other people because they don't want to look at themselves. I know that because I did that. And the people closest around me suffered the most. I know that. I know that that's what was going on. And so when I see that in other people today, when they're so miserable and they're so like obsessed on negativity and whatever, I'm like, or on other people or other things, it's like, this is about you. Like, this is really about you. And like, you're really not, it doesn't even really matter what you're fixated on or what it's about, but like, it's sad because you're wasting days. You're wasting days of your life where you could focus on something else. Waste your time if you want to. I don't choose to waste my time anymore on that. I just don't. Like, that's not where my attention is, you know? And, I think even like, it's interesting because I was talking to somebody, another drama channel the other day, and we were talking about drama. And I said, you know, it's interesting because I can remember like my first couple years doing drama. I think it was like, I loved watching it and following it and all that kind of stuff. But I do think to some degree it was a little bit of a distraction from me really having to do some work on myself at that time. Because I can remember like watching every video that came out and blah, 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 whatever. I spend very little time putting together my drama videos now. Very little. Like today I did a video about Trisha Paytas canceling her podcast with Jeffree Star. I watched Adam McIntyre's video. I watched Rich Luck's video. And they're each like 20 minutes long. And I watched them on 2x speed. Took notes. That was it. I mean, and that's a lot of effort for me to put into a drama video. I don't put that much time and effort into drama videos. I might script them or put some, like, not script them, but put notes together when I'm, like, watching something the night before. Back in the day, that's not how it was. I mean, something happened, 7 o'clock at night. I pulled the ring light out from over there and I was making videos. That's not where I want to consume my energy. One of the things I've asked myself a lot in the last year is, where do you want your energy? I love having an opinion about the drama. I love following the drama. That's interesting to me. It's pop culture, right? But to obsess over it, I think, and be talking to everybody about it and what's going on, that's not a healthy place for me, and it's not fun. And it's a distraction. I still love to do the videos and talk about it, but I also love to do the TV videos. I also love, and so what I realized was it started about the drama, and it came into just me loving to talk on camera and share stories and things like that, which I think is why even my drama videos have morphed into less drama, more stories, because that's just what I like to do. I'm a storyteller, you know? And so, I don't know, maybe my drama videos are more boring than they used to be, but I don't care. Like, once I turn off the camera, I know that this is hard for people to believe. I think there are some people out there that believe that, like, I'm, like, looking into it 24 hours a day, but that's just not the case. Once I turn off the video, like, I'm done. I'm done. You know, like, on Sunday nights, I go through and I kind of make a list of what videos I want to make for the week. If something pops up or somebody sends me something, like, I'll write on the list and save a screenshot, and then I turn 1,000-pound best friends back on. I don't. And I think because at that time, it's so weird, I was thinking about this last night, when I was like outside, I was thinking about when I used to look up at Boo Radley and be like, hey, little guy, how are you doing? It's so weird not seeing his head pop out there. But I think that when you're really miserable and you're really, I think it's an easy distraction, you know, to focus on other things. I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm not talking about drama. That's completely something separate. But, I think during those 4 years, like, I was really, I mean, we were going out a lot. We were, like, it was constantly, like, you know, phone ringing, like, who's going here? What are we doing? Blah, 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 whatever. Oh, my God, they broke up again. Can you believe that? It was that kind of stuff. I don't care about that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't. Like, it's fun to talk about it in a drama video for 40 minutes, but then it's fun to turn it off and enjoy it. I'm not talking about, like, those are two separate things. I'm talking about going out when I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't even on YouTube at that time. But translating it to a YouTube video. I still love talking about stuff on drama videos, but it's not fun for me the way that, I don't know, I don't want to sit and think about it for 4 to 6 hours. It's not fun for me, you know? I don't think it's fun for anybody. And if it is, and I'm not just talking about drama, but I'm talking about being that consumed with somebody, then that's really more about you, you know? I don't want to be miserable like that today. I want to be happy, joyous, and free. So what I was saying was, I think the one thing that really helped me during those 4 years, saved my ass, honestly, was that I never got to a point where I said, I don't need to go to meetings anymore. Like, F that, I'm done. That part of my life is over. I never got to that point. I wasn't doing anything, but I always, in my head, like, my sobriety was still sacred to me, even though I wasn't doing anything towards my sobriety. I was literally just dry, but it was still sacred to me. I was still checking in with my sponsor. He'd check in with me. I was still talking to Tanya. She was my connection. You know, I would bring out my books and stuff and read. I actually, during that time, from time to time, I would go through periods where I read meditation books and stuff like that. It just wasn't consistent. And I wasn't doing any step work. And I wasn't of service to anybody else. And I wasn't getting out of myself. And I was just in a really dark place. But I never said, like, I don't need to go to meetings anymore. And I think that saved my ass, because that day, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was so cold outside, and I was standing in the kitchen. We still had carpet in here and stuff. And I was standing in the kitchen, and I was making this list. And I was like, vacuum, do laundry, fold laundry. And I got to like the fourth thing, and I just lost it. I just started bawling. And I'll forget, I picked up the phone, and I called Tanya, and I said, bawling, I said, will you take me to a meeting? And she said, I've been praying for 4 years for you to ask me that. And we went to a meeting that night. And I'll never forget, she was like, do you want to, because it was a Tuesday night, she was like, do you want to go to our home group? And I was like, F no, I'm not going back there tonight. And so we went to another meeting, which was interesting, because I shared this story so many times, I think, but it wasn't a lot of people, and it was very snowy out that night, I remember, and very cold. And it reminded me a lot of when I got sober, because when I got sober, it was really like inclement weather. It was very cold and snowy outside and stuff like that. That year was really cold. And so we went to this meeting, and there was like 5 or 4 or 5, well, Tanya and I, it was like maybe 5 or 6 total people. And it was such a good meeting. And I remember there was this girl there, this woman that I knew, and I shared that I hadn't been to a meeting in 4 years. And she shared that she hadn't been to a meeting in about the same amount of time. And so the meeting ended up being about that, like, what lengths are you willing to go to for your sobriety? And I remember leaving that meeting, and Tanya and I went and got a fountain pop like we had so many years before. And we went back to her house, and I came inside, and I said hi to Eric, her husband. I could see myself standing there in the living room. She had a different couch then, and she was taking her shoes off and getting settled. And I said, so I'm thinking about going to a noon tomorrow. Do you want to go to this noon meeting with me? And she said, she said, I think that would be great for you. She said, but like in the 4 years that you have been going to meetings, I've been going to meetings. So I don't need to go to a noon meeting tomorrow. I'm good. She said, but I think that would be great for you. And I was so scared and so nervous to go to that meeting by myself. But I did. And I remember that night driving home, I drove around for a while and I listened to a speaker lead, which is when somebody shares their story. I don't remember which one it was. I remember one of the very first ones I listened to. I actually think it was about this couple. This woman got sober when she was like 45, and her kids both went into Alateen, and her husband went into Al-Anon. And it was like all happened on like the day she got out of treatment. But I remember I came home. Like I knew that night when I pulled in, I was like, I'm in it. Like I'm back. I knew. Like I felt like, I was talking the other day about like God and how you feel when you leave church, and I don't feel that way when I leave church, but I feel that way when I leave a meeting. Like I was filled with the Spirit that night. Whatever that Spirit is, the universe, whatever, I was filled with the Spirit. Like I was back. Like I wanted it. Like I wanted it so bad. And I remember I was really scared to talk to Alex about it because Alex did not know what that looked like. I mean, he hadn't been in it ever. I mean, the 4 years that we were together. Okay, so I'm trying to like put the time together, how long it's been, but we met in August. I stopped going to meetings that spring, that summer after my mom passed away. So I don't know, we've been together 16 years. I was gone 4. I guess I'm coming up on 13 years being back. January will be 13 years that I've been coming back to meetings. So anyway, I was scared because I was like, he doesn't know. I mean, he knows my sponsor, he knows Tanya, but he doesn't know what it's like for me to go to a meeting every day and all this. I mean, he didn't know that, And I knew that I had to tell him. And I also knew, I really thought it out when I was driving home. Because I was like, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And I had thought about, I had 3 really close girlfriends at that time that I was seeing out a lot. And it was Melissa was one of them, and the other 2 women that I was friends with at that time that I'm not really, acquaintances with, but I don't really see them. But we were like diehard good Judies at that time. And I knew that I needed to call all 3 of them and be like I'm not going to be going out as much anymore, because I just knew that I didn't need to be in a bar all the time. I needed to be, working on myself and things like that. And I needed to be selfish with what I was doing for me. Towards the end, we would go out and it would be like 12:30 or 1, and I'd be like, I want to go home. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, this isn't fun for me. I'm glad Alex is having home. But at the same time, like, I wanted to stand next to him. I wanted to be out next to him. That was where, like I was talking about yesterday, like joking about the Gladiator movie. That was like a really important part. Like, my ex and I, we were so enmeshed. We were together all the time. If we weren't working, we were together all the time. And so I came into this relationship thinking that that's how a relationship was supposed to be. That if you were supposed to spend every moment with that person and go and do everything with them. And if you didn't, then that meant that you didn't have a good relationship, because you would want to be with that person all the time. I didn't realize that having a healthy relationship also meant letting somebody have their own space and you having yours. I didn't really know how to be by myself. I didn't really know how to do that, That was something that I had to learn. I mean, I knew how to from like being an only child and whatever, but like in a relationship, I didn't know how to be by myself. I was so codependent and whatever that I didn't really know how to just be by myself. Like, all I knew was to be, somebody's plus one kind of thing. Always going somewhere with somebody, going out to dinner, working. I mean, when Alex and I got together, it's kind of funny now in retrospect, because, that I am on a video and I'm talking about like, oh, people were like, oh, you're getting divorced if you don't go to Glad. I mean, nobody said that. But they, said like, oh, Alex would have really liked that. I'm like, my husband can go to a movie by himself. But when we first got together, like, we had one car. I took him to work every morning, picked him up from work. We would go to the gym together. We worked out at the gym together. We would go out to dinner together. Sometimes we would stop by his mom's house and we would come home. We did everything together, to the point where it was suffocating. I can remember when Alex and I first got together, and Alex said something to me about, you don't ever give me an opportunity to miss you. I thought, this is so wise. Like, this is some advice I would give people in early, like, relationships. I mean, we were like 2 or 3 months out. And I said to him something about, I can't remember how it came up, but he goes, you don't give me a chance to miss you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, like, we wake up together, we see each other all day. Like, when we're not at work, we see each other all night long, all day long on the weekends. Like, you do not give me a chance to miss you. He was like, because I'm always with you. And I can remember at the time I heard that, I was like, what do you mean? Like, why do you want to miss me? Like, don't you want to spend time with me? Like, I heard that. Like, I was offended by that. I was hurt. I get that today. You know, I'll never forget going to my first therapist out of treatment when I got right in this relationship that I shouldn't have gotten into. And I can remember saying to him at one point, like, me and this guy are, like, so good, and we spend all this time together and work together and all this kind of stuff. I said, don't you think that's great? And this guy wanted me to move to, he was moving to Chicago. He wanted me to move to Chicago. We were going to spend all of our time together. And I said, don't you think that's great? I'll never forget. The therapist looked at me and goes, no, I don't think that's healthy at all. And I said, what do you mean? I mean, I'm 22, 23, almost 23. I'm like, we're going to spend every moment together. It's going to be pure fantasy and fairy tale, right? And he goes, I think a perfect relationship, I'll never forget, he went like this. A perfect relationship is like two independent lives that intersect and they share part of their lives together. But no, it's not two circles laying on top of each other that don't have anything to themselves. But that's what I thought that it looked like, you know? So it was scary for me when I pulled into the driveway that night and I was like, hold on just a second. Oh, still in the weather. Now it's 28. Was it 29 earlier? I was scared when I pulled into the driveway that night because I knew that I needed to set some boundaries and make some changes. And I didn't know if I could do that or not. I was so dependent on Alex at that time. This is probably a lot of the backstory that I don't really give. You know, I just go, yeah, he can go to a movie by himself. But there's a lot of backstory to it. There's a lot of work that's been done on that. And so I pulled in here that night. I can remember just being like, okay, I got to have this conversation with him. And I went inside. And he was so happy that I went to a meeting. You know, he was like, I think he didn't know what that meant, that I needed to go to a meeting or that I needed to be part of, you know, a program again or that have that connection. I don't know that because he hadn't experienced it. So he didn't know what that meant. But he knew that I was longing for it in a way that was coming out in other ways. And so when I came in, I was so happy, you know, having my fountain pop with me. And I remember I went upstairs and I sat down in the bed and I said, I think we need to talk. And he was like, okay. And he was like, well, how was the meeting? I said, the meeting was great. Like, I mean, I felt filled with the spirit of whatever that, I mean, I felt filled to the brim with this. I mean, I was back and I was so happy and I was so excited. And I just knew that I needed to make some changes. I just knew. And I said to him, yeah, we need to have this talk. And he was like, well, how was the meeting? And I was like, I don't remember the exact conversation, but I was like, it was good. It was really good. And I told him about the meeting and whatever. And my friend that I had seen that she hadn't gone to meetings for a long time either. And I said, I think I need to make some changes. And he was like, okay, well, what changes do you need to make? And I said, I think that I need to start going to a meeting every single day. I ended up going to 2 meetings a day for my first 2 years back. I was going to like a noon meeting and like an 8 o'clock every night. And then on Saturdays, well, I'll get to that in a second. So Saturday nights we would do, was it Friday night or Saturday night? I can't remember. I think Friday night we did date night. Saturday night was the candlelight that I would go to. And then Sunday, that was when Alex and I started doing brunch. Because that was kind of like our day together. And sometimes we would go see a movie together. Sometimes we'd come home, just spend time with the dogs. And like we would rent a lot of movies from Walmart and stuff like, or buy movies at Walmart and get popcorn and stuff like that. So Sundays were kind of our day together. And so I said to him, I need to start going to meetings a lot. I don't need to be going out as much anymore. And he was like, okay. And that was the part I was really scared about. Because I was like, I don't know what's going to become of us when we go out all the time, you know? And I think I was really scared of that. And he was like, I'm 100% supportive of that. And I go, okay, but I don't think you know what it means. Like I'm going to be going to meetings like all the time. Like at that time, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know if it was going to last 2 weeks or a month or whatever. I just knew that that's what I needed for that moment. And he was like, well, I'm supportive of whatever you need. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I need this. And what I know is this, that I'm going to either save myself by coming back in and working steps and going to meetings and meeting some new people and making a new group of friends. I'm either going to save myself, and in the process, our marriage will be saved, or I'll save myself and our marriage won't be saved. But either way, I will be saved. I have to. I have to save myself through this. I have to work on myself because I'm going down quick. And I knew that. Like, I think in that moment when I called Tanya, like, I knew, like, this is desperate times. And I think the other thing that scared me about that day was it came out of nowhere. Like, it literally, like, 1 second I was fine, the next second I was just bawling on this. I don't even know what, I talk about that list all the time. I don't even know what it was about that list. I don't know why it was that fourth thing that I never remember what that fourth thing was I got to, you know, take the dogs outside or something. But I just started losing it. It was like my life is so mundane. You have nothing except for going out on the weekends that you're looking forward to. You're not happy. You're miserable. The camera stopped. Am I really at an hour? I definitely didn't think I was going to talk about all this tonight. I really didn't. And so I just was like, I just didn't know, you know? And I was scared. And I was like, I don't know. Calling Tanya was really scary to me. And Alex was so supportive. And he was like, babe, we're going to make this work, whatever you need, you know? And so, so we did. So that next day, I went to a noon meeting. I don't remember when I started going to 2 meetings a day. It was very quickly after that. And then Mondays, I would go to a noon and an 8. They call it the nooner. I hate that. A noon and an 8. And I was going to a club, 12-step clubhouse, where they had like meetings like 5 times a day. And when I first got sober, I was going to another one. There's like 5 of them in Indianapolis. And I was going to another one that's closer to where we live now. And then on Tuesdays, at first, we ended up, so Tuesdays I was going to a noon and 8. Wednesdays I was going to a noon and 8. Thursdays I was going to a noon and 8. Fridays I was going to a noon and 8. I think Fridays at first I didn't because that was date night. I would just go to a noon meeting. And then Saturdays I would go to the, I feel like it wasn't a noon on Saturdays. Maybe it was. I feel like it was at like 10 or something. And then I would go to the candlelight that night. Sometimes I would go with this friend of mine. She was like a year sober at the time. And then she had her kids every other weekend because she was going through a divorce. And so we would get like Jack in the Box and go sit at her house and listen to the Smiths and things like that, and drink coffee. I met a lot of people that first year back that were within like their first 2 years sober. It was like, that was a really like good time for me because I felt like Tanya has said to me a lot, like when you first came back, you were like a newcomer because you were going to so many meetings and you were like, I mean, I knew everybody. Like within like 2 weeks, I would like walk in and people would be like, hey, Peter, how are you? And it felt so good. It really felt good because I was so afraid to come back. I didn't know like what it would be like. And so, and so many of those people I still see today, like when I go to a meeting, they'll be like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And especially if I go to like a noon meeting, you know, like, cause they still go to the noon meetings, a lot of them. It's hard for me today because I don't drive. And so where I was going to meetings is about 25 to 30 minutes away from me. So if I don't go with Tanya during the day, all my meetings that I go to, even my home group meetings, about a half an hour from me. So that I was going to at that time. The meetings that I was going to when I changed up my meetings, they're even further away from me. They're like 35 minutes away from me. So if I were to go to a lot of meetings around where I'm at right now, I don't know those meetings. So it would be a lot of new people, which is fine. It's totally fine. But like, I try to go to like the noon with Tanya and things like that when I go. But anyway, so, and then Sundays, I was going to, there was a 11A meeting. It was like a spiritual meeting. And it was huge. They separated into 2 rooms. I loved it. And then that would be how it was over at 12, and then I would come home, and then Alex and I would go to brunch. And then on Sunday nights, I would go to, there was a speaker meeting at 8 o'clock. It still exists. And I would go to that meeting, and then I would come home, and Alex and I would watch a movie or a TV show. We didn't watch so many TV shows back then. We watched a lot of movies. And I would spend the whole day with him on Sunday. We might go to like a movie or something, and then I would go to 8 o'clock that night with like a friend. And then I would come home after that. And then Alex and I would like watch a movie or something like that and then go to bed and start the whole week over on Mondays. I did that for 2 years. 2 years straight. And then when I switched meetings a couple years after that, because my sponsor felt like I needed to switch it up and go to different meetings. You know what I just realized? Monday nights, I was going to a completely different meeting. I forgot about that. There was a meeting. I went to a meeting that my mom used to go to. My mom and I never overlapped meetings. So the battery just went to the halfway mark. That other battery that died, I put it in the back, so we're going to donate it. Somebody said you can donate those batteries to Best Buy, and somebody else said Home Depot, so I just wanted to say that on here. I guess you can donate them at Home Depot, too. But my mom and I never overlapped meetings. I think in our entire sobriety, we only went to 1 or 2 meetings together. Not that you shouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't be something I would suggest for couples or mothers and sons or, you know, fathers and daughters or siblings or whatever to go to meetings together. I think you should have your own independent sobriety. That was a decision my mom and I made early on. But we didn't overlap meetings a lot. So there was this big meeting that she would go to on Monday nights. They actually separated into 2 different meetings. They still call it smoking and non-smoking, even though there's no smoking in this church. They still call it non-smoking and smoking, but they split up into 2 groups. And there's actually Al-Anon, Alateen, and Alatot in that same area all on Monday nights. And so I started going to that meeting a lot, and I really, really liked it. And it was weird when I would go in there because people knew my mom that had never known me. It was kind of bizarre. So that was Monday nights. I feel like there was another meeting that I switched up that I went through to. Tani and I on Friday nights a lot. I've actually spoken at this meeting a couple times. There was like a speaker meeting that we would go to sometimes on Fridays. That must have been like the nights that Alex and I didn't go. No, that was earlier. And then Alex and I would go out to dinner afterwards. That was why Tani and I would do that sometimes. Because it was like a 6:30 meeting. So we would be done by like 7:30 and then Alex and I would go out to dinner later. Yeah, but I did that for 2 years. It was great. I miss it sometimes, in all honesty. I mean, going to 2 meetings a day, and my life was really all about recovery. I listened to, like, if I was in my car, I was listening to leads. At home, I was listening to speaker leads online. I was reading a lot of literature. I was, you know, watching, you know, people talk about, I mean, I was in it to win it those first 2 years. I really think I probably, like the first 2 years I was sober originally, I think I built a foundation. When I came back in, I think that was further building my foundation. Had I not done that, my first 2 years that I came back in, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. I really don't. I don't think I would have the healthy marriage because I don't think that I would have worked on myself to be able to be healthy for marriage counseling. I think that had to happen too. I mean, I got into it, started working steps. I mean, at one point, I think this was like right before I started on YouTube or right around the time I started on YouTube. I had like, I mean, I was doing a lot. I was going to a noon every day. And this wasn't like when I wasn't going to noon every day then. I was going to noon sometimes. But I was going to like, okay, I'm going to have to start on Sunday nights. Sunday nights was my home group at that time. Well, Tuesday night and Sunday nights, but Sunday nights, I had a different sponsor at that time. He went to the Sunday night, and so I went there as if it was like, I was going there because it was his home group. But I kept Tuesday nights as my home group, because you're only supposed to have one home group. So I went to that on Sunday nights with him. Saturday nights was a candlelight. I was going to all candlelights. Friday night was a candlelight. Thursday night was a candlelight that started late, and it was in a halfway house. That was for homeless addicts. That was such a powerful meeting. Wednesday nights, I chaired a meeting for 2 years straight. Tuesday nights was my home group. Monday night was the only night that I didn't go to meetings. I had 3 service positions in 2 years. People asked me a lot about sponsors. I was sponsoring a lot of people at that time, driving all over Indianapolis. That was kind of when I became friends with my sponsor now, and she's extremely active. And so we were doing a lot of stuff together, and I was doing a lot of stuff. I was around a lot of people that were super, super active in 12-step meetings. And, you know, and that was a really fun time. That was a really good time. But I think a lot of that led to Alex and I can remember talking to my sponsor at that time, my other sponsor, older sponsor, and he said, you got sober to be a better husband, a better son, a better friend. Like, you didn't get sober to sit in a meeting for 4 hours a day. Don't forget that. And I think there was a lot of space between Alex and I at that time. We just weren't even really like talking a whole lot. And so I remember talking to him about that. And, my sponsor, and then Alex and I had some deep conversations about that. And that was when Alex got like really involved with like knowing my next sponsor that was when I switched everything up again. And Alex got to know my next sponsor that he knows her really, really well. And started doing stuff with Tanya and her husband, and started really educating himself on the 12 steps and all, because he wanted to know. He was like, this is really important for you. So I got to know this stuff too. I mean, he knew a lot of it already. But it was really kind of like where he like dug his feet in and learned about it. That was really powerful for us. And then after that was when we started marriage counseling. You know, it was about the same time that we started marriage counseling. And I know people are going to be like, that's the reason you start. No, there's 100 different reasons why we started marriage counseling. You know, that just is. I don't know what to say. I think that people think it's like one reason that we started marriage counseling, that I say that we're going to get divorced. I wish it would have been one reason. If it had been one reason, I think it would have been easy to fix that and then be like, okay, you know, whatever. Like, we're either going to stay together or we're not. It wasn't one reason. It was like 100 different reasons, you know? I'm just glad that we finally went in there and were willing to do the work. So look at how I brought that all the way back. So I started talking about marriage counseling. So that's where we started, having 100 different problems. And now we do check-ins, you know? We do check-ins today. So, oh, look at that. Tanya's calling me right now. Tanya Jean Applestein. Should we answer it? Let's put her on speakerphone. I'm vlogging right now.
Hey, vloggerinis.
She said, hey, vloggerinis. What are you doing?
Just got me a fountain pop, getting ready to go to the kennel and check on the baby because it's so freaking cold.
It's so freaking cold! All right, well, let me call... What? Let me call you when I get done, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye, baby.
She's so funny. She just went and got a fountain cock. She just went and got a fountain coke and she's going over to the kennel. So yeah. It's weird when I tell that whole journey. And you know, like when I was saying at the beginning, like when you look at 30 days and like when I stand out and I go, oh, 30 days. But when I'm telling that story, like especially like coming back into meetings and all that kind of stuff, it's literally one day at a time. When I look at that, when I look at those years of like, I mean, I can remember specific meetings where I met specific people, going to the noon meeting, you know, new people that I met, new people coming in. One of the things that is the greatest privilege of going to meetings consistently is that you get to see people come in and start their journey of recovery. I mean, I have friends of mine now that have 10, 20 years that I saw them come in, you know, for their very first meeting. You know, and they were like, they didn't think they were going to make it. And here they are 20 years later, and they've repaired relationships and family, and some of them have gone to school and gotten doctorates. And I mean, it's crazy, you know? And so it's really cool. And that's one day at a time, that really is. And so as crazy and overwhelming as it seems to that I'm coming up on 30 years, and when I say that, it's like, it's very similar to like if you're turning 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, right? It's like, wow, like, it's almost kind of like how I felt when I didn't feel this way so much at 40, but like at 30 and 50, I felt like I should feel a certain way coming up on it, like, damn, 30. I remember, I know, 50, being 50, coming up on 53, 30 seems like nothing now. But when I came up on 30, I was like, damn, 30, right? And then when I came up on 50, I think I even made a video about this, that like 51 hit me harder than 50 because my mom got sober at 51. I think I felt like I was supposed to feel a certain way, but in reality, 50 years of my life was really made up of moments of Boo Radley looking down at me, or, you know, Pee-Pee and Tucker running around the yard, or sleeping and playing with their toys on the end of the bed, or Alex and I on a date at Cheesecake Factory, or, you know, taking a trip somewhere, or checking into a hotel room, or Tony and I driving around getting fountain pops, you know, or my mom passing away. I mean, that's 50, you know? 50 is added up of all of those moments and those times. So 30 years sober seems huge, but it's really just one day at a time. It really is. And not just because it's a sober thing, but like any period of time, if you look at it. When I think about Alex and I having been together, I mean, we're over 16 years now, going on 17 years, you know? We've been together 16 plus years. It's like, I think about those 16 years, like I was just telling stories about when we used to go out. We had some fun times, you know? We had a lot of, I mean, during that period of time. We've had a lot of fun times since. You know, I think about, I'll mention something to Alex, like, when we were like paying off debt and saving money, like our date night was the 2 for $20 at Applebee's, you know, and that was like one time a week that we would do that. And I'll be like, do you remember that? And he'll be like, oh my God, that's so funny. Like we would get like, I can remember, you know, like the 2 for $20, and we'd be like, okay, what appetizer are we going to share? Are we each going to get a salad? What are we going to do? You know? And then we would like buy a movie at Walmart, and we get like a tub of popcorn and stuff like that. And those were some of the best moments, you know, those were some of the best moments. And, you know, all different kinds of funny moments that we've had together. It's not just, oh wow, 16 years. It's like the ups and the downs. You know, you take the good, you take the bad, you take it all, and then you have the facts of life. But it really is. It's like all of these moments together, you know, adding up, making a life. It's really cool when you think about it that way, you know? It's like I was talking about, like, me picking up Alex and then, like, going to the gym and working out. I can remember going to the gym. I can remember going there and seeing one of my friends from meetings, and we were talking about to him, and I said something about he and his wife had gone through some hard times, and he goes, yeah, we got the, I'll never forget, I mean, this was like 14 years ago, and he said something about they got the 5 love languages, and every night they were reading it to each other in bed, and then Alex and I got the 5 love languages, and, you know, it's like, I can remember moments like that. I can remember we used to go to this place called Blue something, and every day we would get this was before I was a vegetarian, the batteries flashing, hold on, let me go get another battery. Okay, I'm back. I'm probably not gonna vlog a whole lot longer. I didn't realize I had vlogged for so long. But Alex and I would go to this, Bar Louie. I said Blue, it was called Bar Louie. And we would get, I was eating real healthy back then. And we would go we would go work out. I can't remember ever if we got the smoothies before, but I used to get these matcha green tea smoothies, and Alex would get some smoothie. I think it was, maybe we got them after we worked out, and then we would go to Bar Louie. I can remember us being in our workout clothes when we would go to Bar Louie, though. And we would go to Bar Louie, and then we would both have chicken Caesar salads. And then that was all we would have for dinner, with, like, waters. We were real into the working out and stuff like that. And that was every day. We did that, like, you know, Monday through Friday when we first started dating and stuff. And, God, it seems like so long ago that we did that. Remember, like, the first trips we took, you know? It seems like so long ago. I mean, it really was 16 years ago plus, you know? It's crazy. I wouldn't say that it seems like it's been like that, because it doesn't, you know? It seems like it's been a long time. And I'm happy for that, you know? As sad as it makes me that, like, the dogs are not here anymore, it's surreal to think that Alex and I have been together. I mean, he brought Pee-Pee into the relationship when Pee-Pee was 2. It's surreal to think that we got Boo and Tucker, and we had them for the entirety of their life, and they're not here anymore, which is sad. But at the same time, it's like, that was all within the confines of our relationship, you know? That makes me happy in some kind of, like, I was gonna say in some kind of sad way. It makes me happy to know that, like, I mean, we've been together. I mean, Alex, you know, still gets choked up when we talk about my Aunt Kathy. I mean, like, he and my aunt got so close. You know, I mean, Alex still texts our neighbor that she and her husband live next door, and, you know, and they build a house up the street for their grandkids and stuff like that. And, you know, it's so funny when you think about all the relationships that we've, like, had with people in our lives. You know, I mean, we had neighbors come and go. We've had friends come and go. And, you know, we've been together. Alex and I have been together, I mean, 16, 17 years. It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy when you think about it that way. And I've been sober 30 years. I mean, it's surreal, you know? It's surreal, but it's cool. And I'm very, very grateful for this life that I've been given. And, you know, I think, like, one of the things when I first got sober, I'm trying to kind of, like, speak to somebody that's maybe in earlier sobriety, or somebody out there that's thinking about getting sober. When I first got sober, I think I did get kind of a little fixated on, like, the people that had, I can remember going into meetings and, like, people that would have, like, 20 or 30 years like I do now, I'd be like, that's bullshit. They don't have 20 or 30 years. There's no way. They haven't had a drink or smoked a joint in 30 years. F that. There's no way. But the people that had, like, 30 or 60, 90 days up to a year, like, I could grasp that. And, like, I wanted that so bad. I was like, that is so cool. They have, like, 90 days. Like, I want 90 days so bad, right? I keep on seeing stuff move up there. It's so weird. Maybe I'm just thinking it is because I used to look up there at Boo. But I can remember thinking, like, oh, my God, 90 days. Like, I want 90 days so bad, you know? But some of those early days that I had, as hard as they were with the cravings and stuff, like, Tommy and I talk about this a lot. Like, that feeling that you have when you first, like, if you decide to work a 12-step program, like I said, there's a lot of other ways to get sober. But, like, when I first started going to meetings, I just would leave a meeting and I just would be like, God, I just felt so good, you know? I mean, I still do when I leave meetings, but it's not the same. It's not the same feeling, you know? I just felt, I don't know. It's like when I go to a meeting today and I see like a lot of people that I've known for like the last 20 years. It's almost kind of like the end of Lost when they all show up at that church at the end. It's kind of like that a little bit, you know? It kind of has that same feeling. It's cool. But those first couple years of sobriety, it really was like a rebirth. It really was. It was really like, I don't know. It was just, it was really, really cool. And I'm grateful for it. So it's weird and it's comforting to come up on 30 years, you know what I mean? Oh my God, the tripod fell. Don't. I was getting ready to get off here anyway. But yeah, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for kind of like any way that I look at it, you know? Whether it's 30 years looking back on it or it just is another day. I think the reason why I compared it to like 30, 40, 50, or 60, like in like, you know, we call them belly button birthdays, but belly button years is because like birth years is because if you've turned those years, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like you feel like you should feel a certain way, but in all honesty, like how many of you really do? I mean, I've turned 30, I have turned 40, I've turned 50. None of them did I really feel, I can remember turning 31, and I've said this before, because I had a reference point. You know, I'd watch that show 30-something, and so when I turned 31, I was like, you're no longer 30, you're like in your 30s. Like, that kind of felt, but I still didn't feel like I was like, it didn't feel like monumental. You know, it's like the movie 16 Candles, like, when she turns, like, she thinks that everything's going to happen the day she turns 16. It's like, 51 was weird to me, because my mom got sober at 51, like I said. But 50, like, I think you're supposed to wake up like 40 over the hill, you know? It's like, I don't remember feeling that way when I turned 40. I definitely didn't feel it that way when I turned 50. It was just another day. I think we think we're supposed to feel a certain way, and I think that's part of it, you know? It's like coming up on 30 years sober, but it doesn't really feel like, I know it's a big deal, but it doesn't really feel like a big deal. It's a big deal because I didn't think that I would make it. You know, it's a big deal because other people are like, oh, you're in the 30 group, or, you know, you're considered an old timer now, or whatever, but it doesn't feel any different to me. I don't think that, and maybe I'll come on here and share a completely different story, but I do not think that the day that, I don't think on the 17th if I should make it there sober, because we don't borrow time in sobriety. I don't believe that if I make it to the 17th, that the day that I wake up on the 17th, I think I'll be very proud. I think I'll be excited. I'll probably be more excited about sobriety that day than any other day. I'll probably make a video dedicated to it, because 30 years is crazy. It's crazy to think that I've been sober for 30 years. But internally, not stepping back, looking at the whole picture, internally, do I think that I'll feel any different that day than I did the day before? No, I don't. It's just another day sober. And so for the newcomer out there, what I will tell you is, I didn't believe this when people would say it to me. You know, ever since I've been going to meetings, you know, you hear somebody get 20 years and they go, how'd you do that, Peter? And you'd say, one day at a time. You know, I never thought that that was true. I'd be like, that's whatever, 30 years, 20 years, you know? When I look back on my sobriety, truly how I did it, through the good times and the tough times, you know? You take the good, you take the bad, shake it all, was really one day at a time. And early on, it was sometimes 1 hour at a time, like I've talked about before. And all those days together added up that I'm coming up on 30 years. And that does seem massive to me. But also it makes me think like, okay, what do you want to do for the rest of your 30 years, the next 30 years, the next, you know, if I make it there, you know, what do you want to do with the next part of your life, you know? What do you want to do? What's next for your sobriety? What's next for your life, you know? I am thinking a lot about that, about what's next, you know? Talked about that the other day. Like, I feel like big changes are coming. I don't know when. Maybe not till I'm 55, you know? Maybe January. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe next June. I don't know when big changes are coming. And I don't know that there'll be outwardly big changes. Somebody commented on my video and said, I'm looking forward to those big changes. I don't know what those big changes are. I don't even know that they'll be evident to anybody else. I don't know that anybody will even be able to tell. I don't even know that I will. But I do feel like, well, I think I'll be able to tell. But I do feel like big changes are coming. Maybe they're just in how I perceive the world or approach the world. Maybe they're just in how I perceive or approach people. Maybe they're in ways that I build relationships with people. Maybe they're in ways that I treat myself or that I forgive myself. That's a big one. Maybe there are ways that I don't hold on to resentments or anger in my life. That's big, right? But that's not necessarily a change that you necessarily see on somebody. But do I think that there are big changes coming for me? Yeah, I do. I do. It's going to sound strange to say this, but coming up on 3 years of the anniversary of the accident almost kind of seems, not more powerful is not the word I want to use, but almost kind of more of like a significant anniversary than even my 30 years sober. I don't really know how to explain that, but in my head, if it's like at 3 years of the accident, it's like, it's been 3 years. Like it's been that's a long period of time, right? What's changed in that period? What have you learned in this period of time, you know? I don't know, it's interesting. I think this year has been a year of a lot of acceptance of this is what my life looks like now, you know? The year before was like making a lot of changes and adjustments and trying to figure it out. And this year has been a lot of acceptance. And I think next year will be living in that acceptance. You know, one of my friends on Tuesday night said something about you're still not driving. And she was like, you know, when do you think you'll start driving again? I said, oh, I'm not going to. She's like, never again? I said, no. And she's like, well, the doctors. I said, no, it has nothing to do with the doctors. I made a choice to never drive again. I think it's the right decision to make. It's the one thing that I can give to the family. And it's the one thing that I can make sure that I don't feel like anybody else out there is in danger because I'm not going to get in the car and drive again. It's the one thing. She was like, you say that with such surety, like you don't think that'll change 5 years from now? I said, I do not think that will change for 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like, I will never drive again. So, I don't know that 2 years ago I could have said that. I feel that firmly today. And I don't, you know, it's weird because I loved to drive. I did before. I don't miss it, really, you know? I miss the ability to just like go places when I want to, but I don't really miss, and I don't know, maybe there's still some internal fear in there. There could be, but I think coming up on 3 years of the anniversary is like, okay, well, what things have you learned? What things has happened in the last 3 years? I don't know why I do things with like periods of time, like 30 years sober, 50 years of life, 3 years since, I mean, why is 3 years mean any different than 2 years? And, you know, I don't know, but it does. And I'm excited for what changes are to come. And I'm excited for what that looks like. I've been working on a lot this last year in therapy, 12-step work. I've been working on a lot. I think that the next year is where my physical changes, like really working on my physical health. And I mean like really getting into shape and losing weight because I've just been on maintenance for so long. I think it's where that matches the internal growth that I've had. That's what I see coming next year a lot. When I talk about big changes, that's one of the big changes I see, is where my physical changes match my emotional changes, where my physical growth matches my emotional growth. I hope so. I don't know. I hope so, you know? But I'm excited about what's to come. And I'm hopeful for what's to come. I will say that the other day talking about, and I know there were a lot of different opinions and feelings about it, but the other day when I was talking about my higher power and whatever, there were so many people that were like, I do think that's a sign, and whether it was a sign or whether it's coincidence, it made me feel a lot better. I saw it as a sign, and it was something that I needed at that time. And I'm very grateful for that, you know? And I feel I feel like having talked about it online and in this video or in this vlog, and then at the meeting and Tanya and Alex and everybody, like I feel like that really helped me move through it. And even like just talking out loud to God, like really helped me through it, to the universe, to whatever, that I feel a lot more centered. Like I had to go through that. I had to go through those feelings, those couple days to kind of get through the other side. That's what I mean by like moving through pain, like not pushing it down, but allowing yourself. I feel centered today. I feel happy today. I feel content and I feel blessed. That's not something that I could have said Tuesday night, you know? And I'm grateful for that. So thank you for giving me a safe space to come and share my life with you guys. I love it. And I feel very blessed that I have this. And I didn't think that I was going to go into talking over an hour about sobriety today, but I love talking about sobriety. I love talking about it. So sober family, shout off your sobriety birth dates in the comment section below if you want to. I'm gonna get off here now and get this vlog up. I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Friday. And if nobody else has told you, and a fantastic beginning to your weekend. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you guys. You know, it's so weird, I just have to tell you. So Alex moved the PP pictures. So this one that's up there now used to be over here, and the one that's over here used to be up there. And he changed them, he switched them out because he wanted a bigger one of PP. And it's so weird when I sit here and vlog now, like that picture is right behind. It's like right over there where you guys are, and I'm not used to seeing it because I'm used to seeing that picture over there. So it's kind of interesting seeing that. Hey, little guy. Anyway, yeah, I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Friday, a fantastic beginning to your weekend. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.